Hello, long time no see. I unintentionally took, a good month and a half off. And it started because I attended my first Indian wedding, which that was such an experience. And I think it'd be really cool to do a video on that, but I did not record at all. And then it just kind of led me into, I don't really know. Like, I think even just experiencing that wedding and not feeling like I need to record this or I need to document this or whatever. I feel like I was like finally present and in the moment. And then I've had absolutely no motivation to record, which I've said this in many of my recent vlogs is that I'm not doing anything exciting. I'm like living a very simple life right now. I'm not traveling, I'm not doing anything flashy. And so I almost feel like, what do I have to show type of thing. And obviously, there's beauty in the mundane things of just like living a simple life. But what I noticed is that the process of documenting your life has so many benefits. And I will forever be thankful that I have documented so much of my life. But I started to realize that I don't know if I want to say it's impossible to document your life and actually be present in the moment, but I started to notice myself always having this like in the background. I need to record something today. I need to make footage. I need to make content. I need to document this. And it was forcing me to like always have this thing playing in the background. And it was restricting me from living in the moment. And it made me start wondering, is this really how I want to live my life? Or is this really me? I guess is a better way to put it. The truth is that I have heavily documented my life for the last 9 years. I really started documenting my life when I had my son and he had all of his medical conditions, and it started off as a way to just share with my friends and family what was going on. And then it quickly turned into my therapy. It turned into my community. And I benefited so much from sharing my life, from sharing my journey. I have met some of my best friends from sharing my journey. But there started to become points where sharing got to be too much. It felt like I was almost living these altered lives or like distorted realities of one life outside of social media, one life on social media. And it wasn't that I was being two different people, but it was just showing up online is a curated story. I mean, you pick and choose what you share. And while I shared the most authentic that I could, and I always promised myself if I'm going to share the good, I'm going to share the bad. And that's part of how I built such a community where people saw me struggling, people saw me go through hard times. But in that same breath, it then became hard because this may sound weird, but in my actual life, I was somewhat private. And I would go to school or go to family functions, and I didn't share authentically what I was going through because not that I necessarily was hiding it, but it just didn't come up in a sense. Like, it's not like you go to a family function and you're like, okay, let me just spill everything I've been going through. But on social media, I always shared what I was going through. And so it became weird that, like, my family questioned, why are you sharing so much online? Why are you sharing personal, intimate details about your life and your struggles? And I think it was hard for them because I wasn't sharing that to them, but I was sharing it online. But it was easier for me. And like I said, it became a form of therapy for sure. And then obviously life took some twists and turns. And after I lost my son, sharing became really difficult because it was like this altered lives started to get really far apart. Because in my day to day life, I was expected to just pick up and continue on. There was no space for me to grieve. Which, I mean, if you're in school or work, breaking down and grieving isn't, like you get it. There's not space for it. But I got to create that space on social media. And so it was like the two versions of me got so drastic. And it was quite hard because then I would meet people in real life and they would meet me and they would see me and then they would see my social media and then you could tell that it was such a big difference. And it became hard for me because I felt like I was living these two completely different lives. But it's like hard. You meet somebody and what? Hi, my name is Mickalene. I have a dead son. You know what I mean? Like it's people don't know how to react to that. And then came probably the most difficult part, which I'm still kind of in, which is the moving on part, you know? And the truth is, I don't have a choice. I've said this so many times. Like, people say, I don't know how you do what you do, and I didn't have a choice. You know, I joke, I did, but, you know, which in this case, it feels like my two realities or my two worlds are even more separated. They're even more far apart. The truth is that grief teaches you that there's a lot of gray in life and that things aren't so black and white. But on social media, things are pretty black and white. And in real life, things are even more black and white. And so it's felt uncomfortable for me to learn how to live and share authentically in this gray area where, yes, I still have grief. Of course, I still have grief, but I also have created a beautiful life. And my life doesn't revolve around grief now, but that's also hard. And honestly, this is a difficult chapter of my life. Not because it's actually difficult, but because it's hard to explain. It's hard to conceptualize. It's hard to try to fit in boxes of social media. It's not black and white. There's a lot of variables to it. And so I think I really needed time away to like let myself just be, not having to tell my story, not having to document, not having to try to fit things into boxes or make it look a certain way. But now I'm kind of at this point where I'm like, so now what? Like, where do I go from here? And this is difficult because truth is that I've actually enjoyed not sharing, not feeling like I need to record things or that, you know, I have to make a story of my life when sometimes there's not a story of my life. But in that same hand, I miss the connections that I've made online. I miss the communities that I've intentionally built from a place of authenticity and real rawness of like being a real person and connecting with real people. But I guess I have to figure out how to do that from this new place. And I don't know, I just think the season of life that I'm in right now is just, I'm enjoying keeping things a little bit more private. I'm enjoying living instead of documenting. And now I need to learn how to show up on social media and be able to still connect with people, but not feel obligated to always have to tell my story. And I guess that's going to take me a little bit of time, but I just wanted to give my little update of where I've been, why I haven't posted in like a month and a half after being so consistent for a while. And I guess also bridge this gap of like, if you've followed this channel since the beginning, you saw me show up when I was still pretty deep into my grief. And I was at a point in my life where I was making huge changes to get to a better place. And now I'm in a better place. And now I just want to give myself grace to navigate this season without having so much pressure, I guess. So I don't have any promises for what's to come next. I know I'm not going to disappear, but I do know that things will probably be a little bit different. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today.